Well, it's 9 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started. If you'd stand with me for the flag salute, and we'll follow that with a word of prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd remain standing. Pastor Ron Mandeville, you want to come to the podium and pray? From Medora Bible Church is going to lead us in invocation.
Let's pray. Father, as we bow our heads before you this morning, I pray, Lord, that we would also bow our hearts before you. Father, I pray that you'd be with this group of people who have come together to discuss the dealings, the workings of a county. I pray, Father, that in all these things that we would honor and glorify you, that we would honor and glorify the work that you've done in this world, and Lord, that we would seek you out. We'd seek to know you and the power of your might. We thank you, Father, for the blessings that you've given to us. I pray you'd be with these men, be with the decisions that they will make today. I pray that they would be God-honoring, and Lord, that they would seek you in all that they do and say. I pray you'd be with these folks that are here today. I pray, Lord, you'd help them to hold fast to the word that's true, and Lord, that they would seek you as well. Father, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for what he's done for us. And Lord, we ask all these things today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate that. Well, item 3A on the agenda is a proclamation for a local business that had been in business for, I think, 77 years. It had been decided to make a proclamation to make this day for Kiever Auto Machine. I'll read this. Whereas Jim Kiever Sr. opened the doors of Kiever Auto Repair at 1221 East 30th site, and whereas Kiever Auto Repair began offering rebuilds along with precision engine machine work in 1975 and built engines for small mowers, motorcycles, cars, tractors, trucks, and many winning race cars, and whereas Kiever Auto Repair grew to serve thousands of customers across the Midwest and beyond, and whereas upon Jim Kiever Sr.'s retirement in 1988, Jim Kiever Jr. continued the legacy by stepping into his father's shoes and renamed the business Kiever Auto and Machine. Kiever Auto and Machine continued offering rebuilds along with precision engine machine work, and the business expanded to be known as the best engine machine shop, equipped machine shop in the area. And whereas Jim Kiever Jr. retired on December 29th, 2023, closing the doors of a long-standing business of Kiever Auto and Machine. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Reno County, Kansas, wish to acknowledge and extend appreciation to Kiever Auto and Machine for 77 years of serving thousands of customers in Reno County and across the Midwest, and hereby proclaim February 14th, 2024 as Kiever Auto and Machine Day. Appreciate that. Jim, if you and your wife want to come forward, you're welcome to. I know that, yes, we'll sign a proclamation. I know that Sandra wants some pictures up here. You want all this up here, Sandra?
I'd like all of you, please. One more, because this is fun. Thank you.
Thanks. Proud of you guys. Love you. Yep. Yeah. Do they get that? Okay. Do they get it? Okay, get it. Thank you. Yeah, you hold them up, we'll get that sign. We got something here for you, Jim.
We're gonna get that proclamation to you, okay?
Thank you again. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, public comments on items not on the agenda. If you're here for public comment, come forward to the podium and state if there's anyone here. Okay, not seeing anyone. We'll go to item 5, determining additions or revisions to the agenda. Is there anything that we have?
Commissioner, I would like to add a executive session for 30 minutes of non-elected personnel at the end of the meeting.
We'll add that under item 10A. So there'll be 2 executive sessions in that, one back-to-back will be stated at the end of the meeting. We'll probably adjourn after those executive sessions. I'll just say that now in case I forget to say something. So when we leave after item 9, we'll probably do that if that's all right with everyone. Item 6, A, B, C, and D, the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on that? You guys are going to be easy today. You hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Seconded by Ron Hurst. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
No.
Commissioner Bugner,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes. Consent agenda passes 5-0. Items 7A, annual report for maintenance and purchasing.
Good morning.
Morning, Arlen.
23 was a busy year for us. 24 looks like it's going to be just as busy or busier, but that's good. I would say that the 2 biggest things that have impacted us and continue to are inflation and staffing. Just trying to get good quality applicants that will work well in this environment has been a real challenge. Fortunately, my core of employees have been here for quite some time and are stable, but there's a few positions that seem to have been people come and go for one reason or another. But we're all facing those same issues, so we tackle them as they come. I just thought today I would made a list here for you of some projects that we wrapped up last year. Looking back over the year, obviously isn't all of them, but some that came to mind was the wrap up of the earthquake repairs and restoration projects early in 2023. The remodel of this room right here also was early in 23. We did the detail painting of the plaster. Actually, that was the third floor between the two courtrooms. Art Miller, who's on my staff, did that painting years ago and then left for a number of years and then came back. And he's been here now for, I think, 10 years or close to that. But really talented guy, and we're lucky to have him. He did a really nice job up there. We refinished the interior handrails in the courthouse, rebuilt the front exterior handrails at the courthouse, installed new windows at the extension office. Troy Kelly built and installed 18 new shelf units for the youth shelter closets over there, which has been a nice little upgrade for them. We also completed tuck pointing and weatherization at the health department, renovated the courthouse lawn and landscape beds last fall. And then lots of time spent on relocating staff multiple times for this remodel, on the first floor, basement, second floor, and back again. And then according to our maintenance tracker program, we completed 5,027 work requests. In addition to that, I just checked out of curiosity, and 1,256 of those were completed out at the correctional facility. So about 25% of our routine work is happening out there at the jail. So that's pretty significant to have that high of a percentage at one location. And then looking forward at this year, we're replacing about 7 miles of network cable in this building, going from Cat 5 to Cat 6 cable. We're about a third of the way through that project, and we'll be working on that kind of in chunks as time allows, and we can work it into our schedule. And then obviously completing this the current renovation project that's going on. Left to do there is relocation of the DA's staff for carpet replacement. A couple other things to do there on the west side in the DA's office while they're out of there. We've got shelving to assemble for almost 2,000 boxes of documents for the district attorney and the district court. We've got 700 boxes on the first floor that need to be hauled back up to the 5th floor once those shelves are put together. And then work on the first floor. The plan is to relocate and reconfigure the law library area and move it back towards the back of the first floor and open that space up. I think it's going to be a nice space here in a couple of months. We'll need to move the DA's staff back into their renovated offices when their carpet's replaced, and then Kansas Legal Services will go up to the 4th floor, and then we get to renovate their current space on the 2nd floor. Plan to remove the old Register of Deeds storage tables from the 1st floor to help open up that space. And then these next ones should have been moved over. They're not part of the renovation, but part of some of our CIP projects for this year were to replace the courthouse fire alarm system, windows that use services, shower renovations at Youth Services, a flooring project at RCAT, and then the Law Enforcement Center elevator modernization project to bring those up to code and that sort of thing. Other than that, one of the things that I've wanted to be able to present to the commission for a long time now, and I've finally been able to put some of these numbers together, is a long-range capital forecast, and I've included that in your packet as well. So basically, if you look through that overview, you'll be able to see a number of years coming up where those capital expenses are way higher than what we have been accustomed to. And really the reasons for that are the two big ones was coming up in 2028 would be 20 years that we did the energy project back in 2008. At that point, we had a lot of HVAC equipment replaced in multiple buildings, new boilers and chillers, hydronic pumps, and that sort of thing. All of those items will be reaching end of life cycle. I mean, obviously they don't all die at the same time, but in terms of planning, we need to be prepared to replace those items sometime in that general time frame. The same year, 2008, is when we opened the RCAT building. And so the roof at RCAT, all the mechanical equipment down there will also be reaching that 20-year end of life or life cycle projection at that same time. So 2028 is a fairly large year. Looking ahead to 2030 and 2035, now we're looking at 2035 is 20 years from the construction of the new jail. That's going to be huge. Trying to stay on top of and plan for the replacements and whatnot that needs to happen down there as those items begin to age as well. So, looking at, I think at the end of that, it shows the total that's just on this sheet is a little over $12 million worth of capital improvements over 20 years. If those were evenly spread out, it comes to about $600,000 a year. Over the last 15 years, we've probably averaged somewhere just a little over $200,000 a year in capital maintenance costs. So I just feel like it's important for you all to understand that there are some big things coming up, and it's just important to keep that in mind going forward. And any other facilities that we build or add or purchase or whatever, those costs and maintenance of those items will obviously be added to this sheet over time as well. So that's really what I have for you today. Do you have any questions for me?
You project in 20-year life cycle of some of the roofs and some of the heat and air systems and stuff, but I mean, some are known to run longer than that. Are we under statute like jail to do some of those things that way, or just
No.
just be aware type thing?
Just be aware.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a good example, the health department roof is at 23 years old at this point. We had it kind of in our CIP plan, but it's in good shape. We don't have any leaks. We've taken good care of it. I wouldn't be surprised to get another, 3, 4, 5 years out of it. So we're not likely to replace it until it needs to be replaced. And as long as we can continue doing some of the things that Randy has implemented in terms of being able to budget for some of those items and then move it to a reserve fund to where it is available when it when it needs to be done, I think we'll be in good shape.
Sometimes the weather dictates that for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. It's not in
Multiple
Kansas.
hailstorms and
Yeah.
extremes and things like that have an impact for sure.
Thank you, Harlan.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 7B, delegate a fence viewing board and set date and time for fence viewing as requested by resident Gary Black. Yeah,
Chairman, if I were ever asked to summarize Kansas fence law as succinctly as possible, I would say Kansas is pro-fence. Like, just in general, the answer is usually to build a fence. We have some old laws on the books that says when a landowner in Reno County is having a fence dispute, the county commissioners have the job of settling the dispute and allocating the cost. So this happens about once a year, every other year. In the past, we've had maybe one or two commissioners and maybe a delegate that's not a commissioner go out there and perform the duties. So what's before us today is just to do that, identify who's going to do this fence viewing, and then set a time and date so that I can notify the other landowners on both sides. They don't have to attend, but we give them notice of when we're going to do it. Then we write up what the determination is and make it official. So we're just I believe it might be in Commissioner Hurst's district. Yeah, I don't know if that,
No.
but is it not?
Up in the far northwest corner.
Yeah, so it's really whoever you guys want is willing to take this on, and then we just pick a date and make it happen.
a couple weeks out maybe or something.
Probably further than that. I mean, at least 2, if not, 3 or 4, just to make sure there's plenty of time for everybody to get their calendar.
Yeah, I would do that. Yes, I would do that, and I think it's a good opportunity for someone who hasn't been involved in this before to also be there to get an idea of how the process, and Patrick will be there, and he's good at that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be. You won't be on your own. I mean, I'll be out there to make sure this all goes as well as it can. And
We
if
need to
another,
officially nominate.
Yeah, and I do think it wouldn't be a bad idea. We have a lot of agricultural and rural property in the county, and this just tends to happen from time to time where we get asked to do this, so it'd be a good skill for someone else to learn probably.
Commissioner Vogler seconds. How about a second one?
We've drafted the public works director before,
Yeah.
but I don't know I know it's not it's going to cost somebody their morning, but if another commissioner wanted to be involved too, to make sure that we have some experience, it'd be great.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, point of order, we've got a motion, a second, so we should probably vote on that first.
Yep. Roll call. On that first one.
Commissioner Bogner,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst.
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes. All right, passes 5-0. Do we have a second nominee?
Did you want to do it? Is it nominate Commissioner Bogner?
Commissioner Friesen nominates Commissioner Bogner,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Weitzel. Any comments? Well, seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Bogner.
I'll abstain.
Okay.
That's what it's got.
Commissioner Friesen.
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst.
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0 with an abstention from Commissioner Bogner. Thank you guys for doing that. I assume that you two are just going to go along, or do we need to?
I think we have 3 usually. If you wouldn't mind, maybe officially making. I'm sorry, Don, but Don Britton's our other experienced fence viewer that has done it. I don't know if maybe Mark Vanochin could do it instead if you want. No. Would you guys mind to make Don
Nope.
adding that?
Nope. That'd be good.
I will so move.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bogner. Roll call.
Commissioner Bogner,
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen,
Yes.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Parks.
Absolutely, yes. You're welcome, Don.
We need to figure a date out. Could be
Yeah.
this now or later.
Since we have it in the could we just go ahead, do you think we could get it done real quick? I was gonna,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys hold Wednesday mornings open in general. The first Wednesday of that month would be the 6th. I'm just throwing that out there since we usually have our commission meetings, but maybe if you three are available on a Wednesday morning, we could just say, I'm just throwing out 10 a.m. on the 6th just for discussion to try and see if that works, or
As long as we're back here by noon.
we should be. It'll take us longer. I would predict it'll take us longer to drive out there than probably to do the viewing. So,
As far as that,
Motion to set that date? Do we need comments, questions?
I've got one question.
Yep.
It seems like the dispute is around cost sharing. Is that right? I mean, have we tried to reach out to the other landowner just to explain the statute?
yeah, I have. I played some phone tag and talked to them some. And before this, before the request was formally made, I believe the parties have been in communication with each other for a while, and not been able to resolve it. I like to set these out not too quickly because sometimes they might. I will give every opportunity for those two parties to reach an agreement on their own, in which case we could cancel the viewing. Sometimes setting the deadline of the viewing does kind of bring the neighbors together to figure it out on their own, which would be wonderful.
Does Ducks Unlimited own it, or are they leasing it?
I believe they own it, is my understanding.
And we've talked to them, and they don't. I mean,
I
it
know
sounds
I've-
like the statute's pretty clear on
I believe
50-50
yeah.
cost share. Like,
I believe
seems
I've-
like kind of a waste to go out there to tell them that, but
The statute says that if they don't come to an agreement, we go and do this, and I don't think I agree with you, it's a fairly easy statute to interpret, but from time to time, this just needs to happen. And like I said, in my experience, sometimes, I think the last time we did these, the act of doing the viewing kind of got the parties together to come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. That would be wonderful, but.
well, yeah. My only suggestion would be if you can reach out one more time to Ducks Unlimited and explain the statute again.
I can't make people talk to me, but I will absolutely continue to talk to both parties between now and the 6th, for sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I think we have one of the party members here.
Do we? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, if you'd like to. State your name and address, if you would, for us, for the record.
Tim Horst, I'm the land manager for Ducks Unlimited for Nebraska and Kansas. Edgar, Nebraska is my residence. Yeah, I wish this wasn't necessary. The two properties has an existing fence. It's not functioning for livestock. Our property's in CRP. We're not allowed to graze. Mr. Black does not graze. So it seemed like an unnecessary expenditure for us. We just finished our budgeting for FY25, which starts in July, and we didn't put this capital improvement in our budget. We went into the walk-in access program through the state on this property, so ours will have public access on it, but it's through the iWeHA program. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but each hunter will have to register. So if there is any trespassing, the game warden will know everything about the people who were on our property at the time. Again, it's not for livestock. This is just Mr. Black wants to make sure there's a partition. There's a lot of signage on the property line already, a tree line and an existing fence. So we feel like it's adequately marked and noted. If we did build a fence, it would be more than just the expense of building the fence. There's a tree line and an old fence to remove. And then a legal survey would have to be completed as well, just because we don't want to put a fence that's not on the boundary. We decided very early on, Gary was very demanding, telling us what we had to do, and we decided there was a local process in place and we'd let it take its course and see what you guys ruled. Whatever you guys decide, we'll go with that. If we do build a fence, our preference might be to build it fully on us, fully on our dime, to not share a fence with Mr. Black, and then maybe mark the property line with some sort of conspicuous permanent markers, so we aren't giving up that ground we've backed away from the property line. Do you guys have any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Now, since you don't plan on using this for any agricultural production at all, grazing or haying, have you notified the appraiser's office of the intent of not ag production?
It's the same as it was when we bought it from the previous seller had it in CRP. It hasn't been grazed. So if CRP has a release and there's haying allowed, we could hay then. There is the potential at some point for a mid-contract management grazing of 1 year in 10. If we did that, we would probably erect electric fence. We could budget in the future to erect a fence. Gary demanded it now. So, and we didn't have the expenditure currently. But if you guys rule that we need to build a fence, we'll make that in our budget.
So, this issue comes up frequently. The AG's opinion I read from here, I'll just read it in publicly because it, regarding livestock says, this is from AG 8728. The purpose of a partition fence is not only to keep out animals, but to delineate the boundary between adjacent parcels of land. Then statutes aren't mutually exclusive. Therefore, the fact that the 1986 session of the legislature amended the statutes concerning liabilities and possessors does not negate the duty of adjoining landowners to build and maintain partition fences, notwithstanding the use to which each landowner makes of his land. That's kind of why I always preface it with Kansas is generally just pro-fence, because I think people assume that the purpose of the fences is to keep in livestock, but the law has been interpreted by Kansas courts and AGs pretty broadly, just say legal fences are supposed to be built. And we, as the commissioners, we have a very limited role in this, is just to come out there, look at it and say, is the current fence a legal fence? Is it in place? And then determine how much each party pays for it, which is usually 50-50.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so is there a spec for that fence? I mean, if it doesn't have to keep out livestock, it doesn't necessarily need to be 5-strand barbed wire.
Kansas, my interpretation, not representing either party in this, is a 3-wire fence is legal in Kansas.
Okay, and nothing about posts or distances or any H braces or anything like that. Is there? There is a spec for that. There's an existing fence in place. It's not functioning, but it is there. And it's in an existing tree line. The boundary is fairly easy to recognize as is.
What I'd like to do today, what the commissioners kind of have a duty to do, once we've formally have been requested by one of the parties to set a viewing, the statute requires us to set a viewing. So I'd like us to schedule our process. We could maybe go, I threw out March 6th just because that was 3 weeks or sometime. You and I can, if the three of us, other person, you and I can continue to brainstorm and talk about a resolution, it'd be wonderful for us. We can discuss all these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Friesen.
I think if I remember from last time, one of the things that the party should understand is that it's binding after our decision. So I know you have an idea of what you'd like, but it's in our hands once you go to the viewing, and then at that point, whatever we decide is what's decided. So if you want to negotiate with the landowner, you should probably do that before our viewing.
This is where we've ended up in our two communications with Gary.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So the date we need
Did you guys vote on a date?
We need to vote on the date, yeah. Do you have a motion for the date?
I think we should have some discussion with the two people involved to make sure that that date works for them.
Discussion.
I just recommend the chair and staff decide on it. I mean, I don't know if we need a motion for that, in my opinion, but.
Well, we can do that after the meeting then.
Okay.
And I'll notify both the parties and it'll be official, so.
That's fine. We can do that. All right, thank you. Any other comments on that before we move on? County Administrator Monthly Reports, 8A.
Excuse me. Attached in the packet are the monthly reports for aging, public transportation, appraiser, automotive, the clerk, community corrections, communications, the district attorney, and emergency management. Any questions you have from anything that's in those reports? Okay. The other thing I just wanted to publicly comment on Quad County. I know I've let you know the date. We set Quad County that we're hosting here in Hutchinson for March 18th, probably 11:45 to 1:30, 11:45 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Cosmosphere. The CEO, Jim Remar, will be the speaker, and we'll have catering from inside the Cosmosphere for anyone that wants to attend. Shonda will be sending out the email to all the Quad County members later today to have them RSVP. So, and if more than 2 of you want to attend, we'll just make a announcement that it's a public meeting. If only 2 of you attend, we won't need to do that. So just RSVP if you back with Shonda to let us know which of you or how many of you will be attending. And that's all I had.
Any questions? Well, we'll move to number 9. County Commission reports, Commissioner reports. Let's start down there with Mr. Friesen.
No, I thank you. Appreciate the time. I don't have anything specific except for one thing. The Stepping Up Council is this Thursday. They've kind of held that spot for a while, and I've offered a couple other. I know Commissioner Weitzel has been there. I know Commissioner Hurst, you've been there a few times. I don't know if Commissioner Parks or Commissioner Bogner, you would like to go to one of those.
What time is it?
It's lunchtime on tomorrow. So in the law enforcement basement. I'm happy to keep going from time to time, but I just wanted to offer that up. It's I think it fits well in our kind of view of trying to help our law enforcement and court systems kind of develop a better process that doesn't always put so many people in jail and has alternative processes, because we know how expensive jail is and housing people in the county jails. So there's a lot of people involved, and it's kind of a slow process, but if you're interested in learning more about what they're doing to help in our efforts there, I'd suggest you attend one if you can.
I'd be glad to go to that tomorrow.
Great.
But I haven't been to one.
I had something else, but I forgot.
We'll come back to you if you remember.
Yeah, I'm usually the last person on.
I
Thank
got
you.
out of sync, didn't I?
Yeah. No. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Booth?
Nothing real big on my part other than what you're all aware of with Rant, Mr. Partington sending out a reminder as to what's happening with the irrigation water in the Rattlesnake Creek area. It turns out that it probably affects Reno County a lot more than I first thought. It might require a little more attention on our part as to whether we actually want to become strongly involved or kind of watch the proceedings, but it's probably worth looking. Patrick's already doing it. It's worth looking at a little harder and maybe doing something, taking some action. But at this point, it's, as Randy has put out the information, it's probably just a matter of weighing the information and making up our mind what we should do. But it's probably going to affect certain people in western Reno County a lot more than we originally thought.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Bogner. Commissioner Weitzel?
Come back to me.
Okay. How about Commissioner Hurst?
Gonna come back to you pretty quick here. We received notice of a drug recovery event next Friday evening out at the Sand Hills Event Center. And I would second what Commissioner Friesen said regarding attending one of those meetings, because it's a lot of parties get together. So I just second that portion. That's it.
Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure I had the exact date because I didn't write it down. If you would like to vote in the presidential preference election, the deadline to register is the 20th. So anybody that wants to vote for your party's nominee for president, that's the deadline to do so. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. I'm sure Dillon's and Walmart still have some chocolate and flowers if you're just hearing this, and make you glad you watched the meeting today. But that's all I've got today.
Way to cover yourself, Mr. Weisel. I hope she was listening. Well, I don't have a whole lot, but something came to my attention in the last couple of weeks. At the fairgrounds, there's actually an old, I don't know how many people know, there's actually an old monument up there about Reno County. Sitting just to the west side of the Eisenhower building. So I went up there on a Saturday around lunch or a little bit after and looked at that. It's in pretty disrepair. But I don't know how many people know a lot about the history of the Kansas State Fair. It's as much a part of Reno County as it is the state. Battle went on throughout the years to find a place to put it somewhere. We won out. It's here. I'm thankful for that, but I'm also think that I've walked by that for years and didn't know it was surrounded by vendors. So I reached out to the director of the fair, Brian Schultz, and him and I had a conversation about possibly doing something different with that, where it'd be kind of the forefront of people being able to see it somewhere, maybe move it. And I've got some people looking at it to look at what it would take to rehab that stone. Pretty good size, about the size of the desk that they're setting out over there. Kind of tapers. Both sides are full of names. Obviously notable in the right top corner of both sides. One of them's Reno, one of them's Hutchinson. And so there's a lot of history in that. The history professor at HCC has written a book that's published in its entirety about the history of the Kansas State Fair. I think it would be great to have that set somewhere where visitors and the state would be aware of what really went on, and maybe his book would be available, those kinds of things. So it would be a great resource for people. But currently there's like a lemonade stand in front of it. You wouldn't see it when you walk by it. The weather has checked it pretty bad. And, you know, I'm proud of Reno County. I think all of us are. We wouldn't be here. And I think it's something that people ought to know more about the history of. So we're going to look, and I'll keep you updated in the future at having that rehabbed and maybe raise some money and get it moved. I have my ideas where I'd like to see it be. Brian's pretty open to that. And so I'll probably first step, I'll meet with the board, a few board members and Brian up there and see if we can get something rolling on this. I don't think it's going to involve any county money. If we work this right, I think there'll be enough people to be behind wanting to do something neat with that. So anyway, I'll update you if something happens with that in the future, but that's really all I got. Ron, you had something on a highway. Is there an update on that you wanted to share with folks on the naming of a highway? I just thought about that in light of that.
I can. 2 or 3 weeks ago, Jake File from Haven and I both presented to the Department of the Transportation Committee with regard to naming a couple sections in honor of some people, of a couple sections of K-96 highway. And both of Jake's situation was the fact of from the east edge and the west edge of the city of Haven to rename that mile or so section for his uncle who was killed in Vietnam. And that passed, and my part of it was to name a section of K-96 from the 56th Street Avenue junction to the Nickerson Road junction in memory of the K-96 96th Deadeye Infantry Division, of which it ends up you can't use nicknames, so it's 96th Infantry Division, and that was passed out of the Transportation Committee and will be voted on by the legislature in time. There's one kick to this is that both Jake and myself have to provide the funds to buy the signs. And state, since they pass that pretty easy because it doesn't involve any tax money. And so that's, we haven't found out the true exact cost on those, but we're happy to do that. There was not only his uncle who died in Vietnam, there were four people in Reno County that I can verify that were part of that 96th Infantry Division, and I've got a story with regard to that, but thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you sharing that. Anything else before we move on?
Are you raising funds for that? Is that, or you said you had to pay for it?
Yes. The answer to that simply is probably yes. We both will provide some funds ourselves, but in his case, it was pretty expensive because it's on a 4-lane highway. The way I understand it so far, I've got a phone call into Joel Skelly, I think that's his name, with regards to what the total cost would be should it pass. But we don't want to do anything until it's passed by the legislature. So,
Yes, Commissioner Bowden.
In reading through the agenda items and various other items addressed to commissioners, it appears like there's a little bit of work going on the state level about should we our ability to exceed the revenue neutral, should we have to, if we have granted any kind of tax breaks to a business. I don't know how far it is through the legislature, but there was some which I think we might have to get interested in, because it might greatly impair how we would fund Reno County in the future if we couldn't. I mean, I know it's been our intent to be as efficient as we can and remain revenue neutral like we have for the past 2 years. But I would hate to see if us or future commissions hands tied on certain issues by a law like that. Am I for increasing taxes? No, but there may be a time, depending on what happens, that we can't sustain what we've been doing in the last 2 years, want to or not. So I hate having the legislature tie our hands. And I would say that we should monitor what they're doing with this proposal very closely. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Randy, as I understand it, if that would become reality, is it true that if we offered those incentives to businesses coming in, it would demand us to stay at, as I read that? The revenue neutral.
The bill, and I don't have the bill in front of me, I think it has a hearing today up at the state, but yes, the way it's written right now, if it was passed, if there was a tax exemption given by the county to a business, even if it was to help them, kind of like you guys helped APAC last year, it would then tie your hands to, at least for the next year, hold the budget at revenue neutral rate.
Yeah, Commissioner Hirsch.
Clarify a little bit about what Randy and what Don said.
Yeah.
If we were to give an IRB like we did to an industrial revenue bond, that's tax exempt for 10 years. And we've done 2 of those not too long ago. One of them was for Agri Center, and the other one was for APEC. And that really, as Don said, tied our hands. Well, could potentially tie our hands when we look at any new industry, any new company, any new business coming to town or to Reno County. It's going to tie our hands pretty hard. And it should not affect that, because if you look at the fact that 35 mills or 34 point whatever mills, times zero is still zero. But if we get a company come in that wants to spend $1 billion or so and they get an IRB or $1 million, then that's real money come 10 years from now. So that really hurts the county and city budgets.
Yeah, and it's Senate Bill 468, if you want to look it up. So 468, and they have a hearing today with the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee.
Anything else? Yes, Commissioner Booker.
Well, the only thing to add to that is if they tie our hands, they tie our neighbors' hands too. You know, they can offer something we can, well, I guess they can if they're willing to take the hit.
Yeah, that could be a real hindrance with what maybe is in the mix, hopefully for Reno County coming up. So, anyway, go ahead.
Would that also apply to any NRPs, Neighborhood Revitalization Program, do you think?
I haven't read the bill. I'll be honest, my philosophy is not to track every single piece of legislation that goes up because so much goes up so early. I don't usually study them until they get very serious, but there's definitely, we had the tax lid years ago, and then the new regime came in, and now they're tinkering with that again, and there's always proposals to kind of do these things. And, I haven't heard that it's tied with NRP, but who knows?
Anything else? No, I might close with this. There's nothing else. I forgot, last Saturday morning was the legislative forum at the Stringer Fine Arts. I went to that. I seen Commissioner Herser as well. Pretty good attendance of audience, and it was really a good one. There was 4 of them there this time. Had a lot of great information about stuff that's going on that they're working on as well. So I would like to encourage anybody who wants to know more about some of these topics and stuff, they perhaps could come up at those forums. I found this one, I think, very informational and very good. So I was glad I went. I'm glad they participate and volunteer their time. And so one of the things that was thrown out, it'd probably be dead on arrival, but kind of like the flat tax, but Representative Mike Murphy threw out there that he would like to see, like Nebraska has a consumption tax and get rid of property tax. I don't know that that'd ever fly here, but I'm kind of for some of those things, especially being older. But yeah.
It was one of the better forums that I've attended. I agree, Randy.
Yeah, good. Well, if there's nothing further, I don't want to cut anybody off. We'll move along. Item 10 is the executive session that we'll move into now for the public here. I'll read a deal here and we'll move into an executive session probably from here till the first one pertaining to, let me read it, motion, move the board to recess to executive session with until probably 20 minutes on this one, you think? Would that be enough time?
I think
20 would be enough. Or let's just say 15 after. That'd probably be 15 after 10. With the county administrator, counselor, and faculties director. Subject matter to be a potential acquisition of real estate by the county, and justification for the executive session is to keep confidential the county's bargaining position for potential real estate acquisition. That'd be the first one.
Second.
First and a second. Don second that. Okay. All right. I think roll call on that, I guess, or any comments?
Commissioners, you just want to stay down here today?
I think we can just stay in here. We have to dismiss you folks if you're public here and then not part of this executive session. And then we'll reconvene for the second motion at the end of that at 10:15. Can we change that time?
I guess you can, how does that work?
Can I amend that motion?
You can do a
A
friendly
motion to
amendment.
amend, yeah.
I do a friendly amendment to the 20 after. Maybe some of them need a break. And then we'll convene after 5 minutes.
Second
I was-
the amendment.
Okay.
Second the amendment.
I knew I was going to be in trouble if I didn't do that.
Okay, and so
You
we
need a-
take a roll call on the amendment and then on the main
yeah.
motion.
Well, you
Roll
can
call.
you can do a friendly if everyone agrees, and you don't need
Or you can do it.
a roll call.
Okay. Let's do that. Friendly amendment.
Now you need a roll call on
Now we need a roll call.
the motion.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Bugner?
Yes.
Commissioner Friesen?
Yes.
Commissioner Whitesall?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll reconvene at 20 after.
Okay. Who's that? No, I don't.
You can come out early. You can come out early.
That's what Patrick just said.
No, we do? Okay,
Well, doesn't your watch say 10?
that's 5 minutes. Yeah, in case anybody else wanders in, you're right.
He told us about that stack of paper.
Just might make no decision.
I don't, I would argue that if it's recorded, that
Yeah, I would-
it's properly public, but.
Well,
It gives them fair time to come back. I'll restate that. I'm going to make a motion to recess to executive session until, how much time do you think we need for this one, Randy? You guys?
30, do you need 30 minutes?
Yeah, that's more than enough.
Let's do 20, we can always extend it.
We can come back and.
Until quarter till 11, 10:45, with the county administrator, county counselor, the treasurer, and the director of human resources. The subject matter to be county employee performance, and the justification for the executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. So we will
I will
probably
second.
just adjourn after this executive session, unless we need an extension of time.
No, you have to come back into session first and then to adjourn.
Okay.
Then I'll second.
Essentially,
All right.
John
All-
just second.
Second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Huh? On, just for an official adjournment? We are. We've reconvened after the executive sessions. We are going to officially adjourn now. You are adjourned.